My name is Gbadebo RhodesVivour. I'm the Labour Party governorship candidate for Lagos State. I'm an architect by profession, a politician by passion. I was a senatorial candidate in 2019 for Lagos West, the largest senatorial district in Nigeria by population. I believe that not only the young people, but people that mean well for Nigeria, that mean well for Lagos, need to get involved in politics so we can enthrone servant leadership in our system to move Nigeria and Lagos forward. And that's why I'm in politics. Fortunately, you were here for some time. You saw me with my 20 local government chairmen. That's the structure. They have their ward chairmen under them. So we have structure. This whole idea. See, the hardest thing for a party is if they don't have people willing to be part of it, they have to go and convert people and bring them in. We have abundant amount of people. We have abundant amount of people. You need 245 ward chairmen. We have that. You need 13,350 polling units. We have more than 20,000 people that we can have as polling agents. So we have structure. The idea now is for us to harness it, to train them to be ready for these elections. And we are doing that. It's a challenge, and we have met the challenge. Right? We have people that are willing to volunteer their time, donating their resources, using their money to print t-shirts, face caps. And these are not people that are benefiting from government, as you see in the ruling party, where beneficiaries of government are using that money and printing because they want to secure their interests and themselves to come back again. That's not the case in Labour Party. We don't have any sitting members of assembly or governors or anything. So it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle that everybody has keyed into, and they are participating and donating their time and their energy and their efforts towards it. Yeah, so when I say architect of a new Lagos, I'm talking about a systematic master plan that all interlinks for it to work together. You know, a house, you can draw the plan of the ground floor, draw a plan for the first floor, but if they are not interlinked, the stair cannot connect to where you're trying to go. The idea is that we want everything to tie in and work together. So when you look at your drainage master plan is tying into your wetlands master plan, which is tying into the roads that you are doing, which is tying into transparency and accountability that allows for the resources you have to be used efficiently and maximally. You know, currently I tell people that Lagos State by default is operating at 4 times the World Bank benchmark for projects to actually be done successfully in the States, right? So we are not achieving the quality of project delivery in terms of the amount of projects that we should have in the States. So that's why I talk about transparency and accountability and opening that up so that people can actually start to see. And that transparency and accountability also now handcuffs all people in government to be able to do what they are supposed to do at the right price, right? So you have that. When you look at it from the angle you've brought it, which is architect of a new Lagos, it's about urban regeneration and ensuring that local governments can work sustainably, independently of each other, but then interlinking them in ways that they've never been interlinked before. So we're going to deliver 4 rail lines in 4 years, right? The total amount of rail lines that we need in Lagos is about 160 kilometers. That's even according to the plan for Lagos. They've done the blue line, which is 16 kilometers, so it's supposed to be about 25 kilometers, and unfortunately they're stopping it at Okokomaiko, but we really need it to get to Badagry, right? And that's why I talk about architect new Lagos. You want a situation where you are bringing tourism back. You are allowing, our parents used to go to Badagry every weekend, right? Badagry can be a hub for us in West Africa. That's also bringing in tourism, right? So we want to bring Badagry back to its lost glory, and rail connecting to Badagry is an important part of that. 175 kilometers is the length of the Lagos-Ibadan railway. They did it for about 1.2 or 1.7 billion dollars, right? And they did it in 4 years. So this 160 kilometers I'm talking about can be done. It should not take 23 years to give you 16 kilometers of rail. And even the red rail they are talking about, the main infrastructure had already been laid by the federal government, right? So we need efficiency in our project delivery, and that's real. We also need to make sure that we are performing maximally in dredging our waterways. We need to ensure that this is being done to take care of a number of things. One, our flooding. I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on with Sherry now. People are moving out in the GRA part of it. They are wearing rain boots to walk around. You know, the Ogun River is starting to break bank. and that's also tied into the dam that has been opened. And this must be a layered solution where, for instance, instead of opening the dam at once, you can open it systematically. But more importantly, it's about dredging those waterways properly and then ensuring you put proper embankments. What happens in Lagos State? Lagos State tends to be developed for the rich, right? It's developed for profits, not for the people, right? So you find that they're doing a lot of development and indiscriminate sand filling and displacing water that's then affecting the poor because there's no proper embankment that has been put in place. For instance, you might see flooding that's happening in Kurudu as a result of the sand filling or reclamation of water in Eco Atlantic. See, this type of things is what I'm talking about. So we need a proper wetland protection plan. We need to map out our drainage system, the places that need to be, mechanics need to come in to get water out of the city, they need to be included there. Our urban planning must not encroach in our wetland protection plan because wetlands are the state's natural gutters, right? So when you sand fill those places, the water has to go somewhere, right? And that's the problem. So we cannot afford for that to continue to happen. We need to invest in our healthcare significantly. We need to invest in our education significantly, double the per capita spending that we're doing currently. Current per capita spending on healthcare is about 4,500 naira. Current per capita expenditure is about 8,000 naira for education. This needs to be increased. We can no longer afford to have tokenism projects like Eco Excel that's doing 300 schools when we have 1,009 schools. We need to ramp it up so all the children are benefiting from this, and we need to sustain it and improve it and make it better. Not that you do it so you get the headlines, you get the accolades, and then the project dies, which is the standard for Lagos State generally. And then we also need to invest significantly in human capacity development, right? And that ties into education, not just for the children, but continuous education for adults as well, giving people employability skills, creating centers in each local government where people can go in there and learn for free. Innovation and technology allows us to achieve these things. We can leverage these things. What we need to do is provide a space for them to be able to come in, provide the internet, provide electricity for them to be able to come and learn. Gone are the days where you have to go to university for 3 years and do a master's to be able to earn good money. Now there are the in-demand jobs where you just need 6 months to learn a skill and you can be earning $2,000 a month, which at today's exchange rate is almost about 1.4 million naira. There are people that went to school for so long that cannot even earn that in today's Lagos. They're earning 300,000, 400,000 naira. So the role of the government is to create an enabling environment, enable the private sector, enable small businesses so that they are not, they don't feel subjugated, so they don't feel incapacitated, so that the system they can actually grow. Create a system that allows for people to grow, right? And then increase, so you can now increase their capacity to generate taxes. Also, we have a situation where we are going to enable and fast track provision of roads, position of roads, trains. When we dredge our waters properly, then have proper ferries that can carry a huge amount of people. So we accelerate development and growth in Lagos State so that people can actually start generating more money. The long-term aim is to make Lagos State a 24-hour state. Then you have businesses starting to truly profit, and that then brings in Gbadebo situation. We want a safe Lagos so that people can walk around at 2 a.m. at night, like the way you walk around in New York, and not feel like you might be mugged or harassed and everything. When Lagos starts to work at 24 hours, then people can truly start to generate the monies that are reflective of the amount of ground rent and taxes that they are paying. So first, you need to understand what the system is. It is a mafia type government, right? And then you have the people that do the shakedowns, which are who we are calling Gbadebos, but really they are just young men that have not been given an alternative means to earn a living, right? And you have a situation where the government uses these young men to be able to suppress, to be able to harass voters that might not be voting in their interest, and that's where they get the confidence and the backing to do what they do. And this affects everybody. The bus drivers have come out to complain about it. I'm sure you saw that recently. As an architect, I have projects in gated communities, right? They will come and make my workers down tools, and until they are settled, those workers will not pay, will not do their work, because guess what? On their way out, they will be harassed. So they need to be settled. Then these same people will call Alausa and tell them there's a project here, come and collect your own. This is happened to me. This is not I heard. This happened to me. So it's a menace. But it was not always like this. Lagos was not always like this. You look at Lagos in the 80s, in the 60s, people will queue, enter their buses. The people that help them carry goods, they will ask for their money politely, they get their money, right? But now, there's been a complete somersault. Baboon they walk, monkey they walk, baboon they chop kind of situation, right? People are generating so much money, they cannot account for what these monies are being used for. Who is this money going to? How is it making their lives better? Even the people collecting this money, how is it making their lives better, right? So for us, first of all, we are not going to be suppressing anybody's votes. We are going to work, do the hard work, in the hope and the dream that in doing work, people will put us back in, without intimidating them, without threatening them, without, bringing all sorts to try and reduce, make them feel that they'll be, to scare them, right, from voting. So in that regard, we'll now work with all these young men as stakeholders. Like, listen, these are the possible options to earn a living. These are the possible ways we can, bring you in to the system, right? These are the ways we can incentivize private sector to employ you. These are the skills you need to get, and we're willing to give this training for free. Now, obviously, not everybody wants to do this, but at a point when they see that there's no more government patronage, and now we must create a system for you to be able to survive, that is also not to the detriment of the people of Lagos, then they'll have to fall in line. So that is my own approach. We are not going to look at them and say, you are bad people, we are not working with you. No, we'll bring them close and create means for them to be able to, pick up skills that make them employable, and also push them to the private sector, where the private sector now has incentives to hire them because they get tax rebates, right? They get tax reductions, or for the first 3 months where they employ them, they don't need to pay taxes for them. We make it interesting for the private sector, and there are many things that we need to expand on in terms of employability. For instance, in our healthcare sector, we need to do a lot to equip doctors, to train them, to improve their welfare. But we also need to do a lot to bring in support staff, so the doctors are not overworked. And in all of these things, you'll be surprised. You can find people that can do these things if they are given the right opportunities and the right skill set. I tell people that, you see, in this last 23 years, the government and political elite, they have eaten so much. It's now time for the people. So my government is one of sacrifice. Jakande did it. Alhaji Lateef Jakande did it. And you saw that there was a lot of personal sacrifice. He was not trying to put his brother to be in charge of the bus routes, or his daughter to be in charge of the markets. And if my interest or the interest of my cronies are not taking place, that development cannot happen in Lagos State. We are not trying to do that. Our major focus is the quality of life of our people in Lagos to improve drastically, and for them to be able to achieve this quality benefits of governance in the cheapest, most affordable price, right? And for us to be able to have transparency and accountability that will allow them feel the incentive to put in more funds into the system by way of taxes. So for instance, if there's an incentive for you to pay your taxes, nobody will force you to pay the taxes. You'll pay by yourself, right? So that's what we're looking at. So I always harp on transparency and accountability, opening up the finance system of Lagos State, making sure it's not to peak. And this also will go down to local government as well, so that there will be a normalized profit or whatever project you want to do. Typically around the world, you don't do more than 20%. 20% is a decent amount of profit that you can make. Now, once we start doing that, then by default, you're already cutting down corruption, right? And secondly, when you're leading by example as well, you are cutting down corruption. And also bringing innovation and technology to automate a lot of these processes. Google Maps now allows it for you to be able to see the footprint of a building, right? Automating that into an app then also prevents people from just having planning to do something and doing something else. If you have a plan in a zone that's been zoned for 3-4 floors, you submit your planning permission, right? We should be able to see just digitally that this plan you have submitted fits to this site that you have put using Google Maps and just AI, right? That this all fits and this works, right? And then even with AI, you can look and see in this room there's this window, so it passes planning approval, right? To planning approval. When you start building, based on the height and shadows cast, we can know how many floors you have got it to. Now the question is, when this happens, what happens? How are you going to enforce this breaking of the law? Now it's very important because you look at a lot of developers, very wealthy developers that do buildings that collapse. None of them really face the wrath of the law. Yes, their building might be destroyed, like the one we see going on now in Bodilon, right? It's being destroyed, but lives could have been lost. A lot of lives are being lost in this thing. So what value are you going to put to human life? So whether it's a fine and then demolition of that building, these things will have to be done, and it has to be done in such an objective way that people don't even want to try to even break the law, because you want to have people to negotiate with, right? And also a lot of information must be passed to people. There must be a lot of effort to educate people and let them know this is the new state of the law, this is what is happening, this is how it works. We must make government come so close to people. That's why local government autonomy is extremely important, right? Having a local government that is vibrant, that is thriving, that is educating people about the state government's policies is something that we are going to definitely try and address, and will successfully address in my government.
I want you to quickly talk about your plans for security and transportation.
Yeah, I have, but I'll bring it together now. Security, transportation, I've talked about delivering 4 rail lines. I've talked about dredging so we can start to use our waterways. Before the Igbo man came to Lagos State, or what we call Lagos State now, we were a collection of islands. And people were moving around by water. Right, so we need to bring that back, not just in that performative thing. We need to bring in the jetties into our culture, into our everyday life. You know, it has to be well designed, well planned, so it becomes normalized. We need to normalize multimodal transportation, so you can come somewhere, park your car, get on a ferry, go to where you are going, you know, come back, you know, get on your ferry, come back, drive in your car and go home. We need to make that normal. We need to ensure that there's a benchmark that's set for contractors. So when they do a project, that road does not get washed away in 6 months and we are thinking it's normal. No, there must be a life expectancy of a road, and that must be worked into the contract that they sign, right? And then in terms of security, I've talked about that in relation to the agro situation and all that. But then general security in Lagos State is about having intelligence, surveillance, and data gathering. Data gathering from communities, working closely with communities to ensure that we are monitoring people and what is happening in that place, gathering data effectively in a traditional sense, just by talking to people, and in an innovative sense by logging that data and doing data capturing and capturing that information. Then also having a ring of surveillance across the state, so that if something happens in a place, we can track that person and track and bring that person to justice. That's what we need to get to Lagos State, because our population is constantly increasing, and where there's a huge amount of people, there's always going to be one kind of conflict or the other. There's always going to be a lack of resources, you know, by some people. Right, so we're going to try and carry, and we are going to carry a lot of people, you know, bring them into the mainstream. At the same time, we also need to make sure that there is a deterrence to crime, because, like I said, one of our biggest goals is to make Lagos a 24-hour city, right? 24-hour city state. Now that can only happen in a place that is safe. I mean, Peter Obi, our presidential candidate, is an excellent candidate. He's campaigning and he has hacked the system. He has created a new politic, right? And it's extremely inspiring, extremely beautiful to watch. We're together on Sunday you know, and the response from him from different places, everywhere we went was electrifying. Right, so for us, we are keying into that as much as possible. We're doing work to also push for his success, because the election comes before mine. It's in my interest that he succeeds at that election. So we are doing our best to make sure that he succeeds. And we're also learning. We're learning the ropes along the way. And you know, for this new politics, this new voter demographic we are looking at, how to, you know, sell ourselves to them, because they are a new voter demographic. That same person, the sitting governor will go there and maybe they won't boo, but they'll be quiet. But then when he comes in, the whole place will go. So the people are making their feelings known. They are showing where they stand. So it's a beautiful thing to see, and we are keying into that fully. You know, he's our presidential candidate, and we want his success in 2023. I just have a message for Lagosians. I know a lot of you went through the stress to register. Some of you are now facing some more stress to collect your voters card. Please don't give up. Power is not served a la carte. You have to take power. And you know, with democracy, power used to be a game of kings. Now it has almost been, it's an IPO has been served, and everybody has their own share. And your share is your voters card. So use it. Make your votes, make your choice known, rate these governments, rate them, let the politicians know that the people matter, and let's have a country where the people put their leaders into position. So when those leaders are in position, they are accountable to you, the people, and they want to serve you so that they can return. That's the first thing. If you do not get a voter's card, make sure that you find 10 people that have voters cards and shepherd them to the polling units. Make sure that they vote in this election, and show that even without your one voter's card, the one that you do not have, you brought 10 to the polling units. Thank you very much. Make sure that this election will be determined not by tribe, not by, you know, who has what money or what, but about people that are courageous to actually make a difference for Nigeria and for Lagos State. People that have integrity, people that are competent, people that have shown cerebral capacity, that want to deliver, you know, and are not accountable to any godfather or any big interest. They're accountable to you and want to serve you. Let us put a servant leader in place that will serve your interest. Thank you very much.